You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Welcome. My name is Frank Ambrosio, and I'm the director of the My Dante project at Georgetown University. Today it's my great pleasure to welcome you to a reading of the second canticle of Dante's Divina Commedia, voiced by Daniel Fitzpatrick. Danny will be reading his own translation of the poem, recently completed to honor the 700th anniversary of the great poet's death in the year 1321. Poetry is meant to be spoken and heard. Listen now as Dan Fitzpatrick reads the Purgatorio, the great story of the rebirth of human hope.
Hello and welcome back to the Dante in a Year podcast. My name is Danny Fitzpatrick. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus here as I've been traveling and also dealing with a little bit of sickness, but we are excited to continue our journey through Dante's Purgatorio. For those of us who are joining us anew, we are using my new translation of the Divine Comedy, which is illustrated by the sculptor Timothy Schmalz, and we are working our way through this 700th year anniversary of Dante's death. So we'll continue today with Dante's Purgatorio, Canto 15. As much as between the ending of the third hour and the beginning of the day appears of the sphere that ever plays in the guise of a child, so much now seemed to remain of the course of the sun toward the evening, vespers there, while here it was midnight. And the rays bore down in the midst of our faces, for we had wound so much about the mountain, that now we headed straight to the sun's descent, while I sensed a splendor upon my brow heavier than any I'd sensed before, and I was stunned by unaccountable things, so that I lifted my hands to the height of my brows to temper the sun that overwhelmed my sight. As when from the water or a mirror the ray leaps to the opposite side, ascending at that precise angle by which it descended, and departs in equal measure from the fall of a stone, as experience and art will demonstrate. So it seemed to me that I was struck by light refracted there ahead of me. At that my sight was swift to flee. What is that, sweet Father, that streams upon me so that I am unable to shield my sight, I said, and seems to be moving toward us. Don't marvel that heaven's citizens still should dazzle you, he responded to me. A messenger comes to summon man to rise. Soon it will be that the sight of these things won't weigh upon you, but will give delight, as much as nature disposed you to feel it. Then, when we were joined to the blessed angel, he said in an elated voice, "Enter here upon a stairway less steep than the others." We mounted, now departed from there, and Beate Misericordes was sung behind us, and Rejoice, you who conquer. My master and I, alone together, went on upward, and I thought, advancing, to draw profit from his words. And I turned myself to him, inquiring thus, what did the Romagnan spirit wish to say in mentioning the divested consorts? At which he to me, he understands the damage of his worst defect, and so we ought not wonder if he reproved it that fewer might weep. Since your desires are appointed where parts are lessened in company, envy moves breath to sighs. But if the love of the supreme sphere should turn your desires to things above, there'd not be that fear in your breast, for, however many more should say ours, so much more goodness does each possess, and so much more charity is kindled in that cloister. I fast to be the better contented, I said, than if I'd first stayed silent, and greater doubts assembled in my mind. How is it possible that one good, distributed among more possessors, makes them richer than if it were possessed but by few? And he to me, since you've affixed your mind once more on earthly things alone, you pluck shadow from the true light. That infinite and ineffable ground that is there above so rushes toward love as a ray goes to a bright body. It gives as much ardor as it finds, so that, however much love is extended, the eternal power will increase it of itself. And as many more people as are drawn on high, the more there is of good to love, and the more love there is, and as a mirror the one renders it to the other. And if my reason doesn't break your fast, you will see Beatrice, and she will free you fully from this and every other hunger. Seek solely that the 5 wounds swiftly fade, as the 2 have now already, closed again by being painful. Just as I wished to say, "You've appeased me," I saw myself upon the cornice above, so that my wandering sight kept me silent. Then it seemed to me I was drawn up suddenly in an ecstatic vision, and I saw many people in a temple, and a lady on the verge of the entry, with the sweet aspect of a mother, said, "My son, why have you done such things to us? Behold, sorrowing, your father and I have searched for you." And as she here was silent, so did that by which she first appeared disappear. Then appeared to me another lady, with those tears that sorrow distilled rolling down her cheeks, born of her great disdain for that other. And she said, "If you are the lord of this land, whose name has caused such quarrels among the gods, and out of which all knowledge has been sparked, take vengeance on those ardent arms that embraced our daughter Pisistratus." And it seemed to me the Lord, benign and mild, replied to her with temperate looks, "What do we do to him who desires our harm, if we would condemn the one who loves us?" Then I saw people inflamed in the fire of wrath, putting a youth to death with stones, each shrieking sternly to himself, "Murder! Murder!" And I saw him collapse upon the ground, for death now drew him to the grave. But he bore his eyes up ever toward heaven, praying to the Lord on high, in such anguish that his persecutors might be pardoned, with that aspect that unlocks pity. When my soul returned without to those true things around it, I recognized my errors were not false. My leader, who could see that I was as a man that unwinds himself from sleep, said, "What is it that you can't hold the way, but have come more than half a league, veiling your eyes, and with your legs twisted up, as one wine or sleep had enfolded?" "Oh, my sweet father, if you'll hear me, I will tell you," I said, "that which appeared to me when my legs then were taken from me." And he, "If you had 100 shadows over your face, your thoughts, however small, would not be closed to me. That which you saw was so you won't excuse yourself from opening your heart to the waters of the peace diffused by that eternal font. I didn't ask, 'What is it?' for it had made you as one who only turns the eye but doesn't see, when his corpse lies inanimate. But I asked that you put strength to your steps. So must lazy men, slow to use their waking when it comes, be spurred on. We went on through the evening, our eyes advancing as far along as they could against the lucent evening rays, and behold, bit by bit a fume came toward us, dark as night, nor was there a place we could conceal ourselves. This took from us our eyes and the pure air. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Dante in a Year podcast. Feel free to join the community on Instagram. You can follow us at fitz.the.writer. Feel free also to reach out to me by email. That's at dannyfitzpatrick530@gmail.com. And you can request copies of the book. I can send you signed copies of Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And that way you can read along while you listen. But thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you next time for Dante's Purgatorio, Canto 16.
Hello, God's beloved.
I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.